So we're trying several different techniques with watercolor, and one of the ones that we're doing is where we are literally blowing the watercolor across the paper. You did this in class, you practiced. Remember that you have to have a certain amount of water, and I found that the straw worked best for me. So you can do it with a straw or you can do the short breaths like you saw in the video. Now I'm showing you how to transfer your monster. I've already put graphite on the back, and so I've got it right side up and I am tracing over it. Guys, remember that when you're tracing over it, you want a nice clean line. Every once in a while, peek underneath and check and see if it's transferred. It's not going to be a dark transfer, it's going to be a light transfer. So if you still need to go over the drawing a little bit, you can do that with an F pencil. But remember, with watercolor, we want our pencil lines to be really light. So once you get this completely traced, then you are ready to, like I said, you can take the F pencil and go over it just a little bit. Now, using the masking fluid, this is going to block out the watercolor. So I am masking over the eyes and the teeth, and I'm adding highlights where I want things to stay white. What happens is it's a rubbery finish, so when it dries and after you finish painting, you can just erase it. Most of the time you can just peel it easily with your fingers. It will take probably about 20 to 30 minutes to dry. A hair dryer is not going to help it dry faster because it'll just keep it soft because of the heat. So you're going to have to be patient there. All right, so now I'm ready to make a stencil. And I have made a copy of my monster, and I'm taking an X-Acto knife on top of a cutting board, and I'm going to cut out a part so that I can cover the rest. So while I'm blowing the watercolor, it's going to go mostly in the area that I've cut. Now, obviously this is a paper stencil, so some of the paint is going to go underneath. So don't make your liquid too watery. Make it just a little bit so that you can control what you're doing with blowing the watercolor through the straw. All right, I'm putting my stencil over now, and like I said, what it's doing is it's blocking out the rest of the monster so I can just primarily work on one area at a time. I've got my watercolors and I'm going to blow. Going to mostly use some cool colors at the beginning. You can see that I'm holding the paper down because it is a stencil, so I want it to try and go where I want it to. Again, some of it may seep underneath, and that's okay. What I found that worked best is I found a Q-tip would kind of sop up the extra watercolor, and then I also used the watercolor to actually paint so that I had that nice light value, and you'll see that in a few minutes. So right there, that's where I'm taking the watercolor with a Q-tip and using some of that excess paint and using it to paint, because you want different values. You want light, you want medium, and you want dark values. You can see where I put the masking fluid or the resist, it was white. So I continued to cut different areas. Again, I worked across so that if my first one wasn't completely dry, it was okay because I wouldn't be interfering with it. So you'll notice that for the top of my monster, I decided to go with warm colors. Again, I'm using the Q-tip to kind of help paint in some areas really soft. And then I'm also going to take a paintbrush without a lot of water on it and start adding some line work. So you need a combination of everything. You may decide that you don't want to use the straw method. I like it because it kind of gives you that very loose kind of abstract look, and it's very hard to get. All right, so now you can see I'm starting to add the color pencil, shading on the side. I'm using three different colors. I'm using a turquoise color, I'm using a navy blue, and I'm also using a dark green. I'm using a micron pen, which is archival, If all you have is a Sharpie, then a Sharpie will work as well. You'll notice that the left eye right there, I'm taking off the masking fluid, just rubbed it off, and now I have that nice white surface that I can work on. So the masking fluid is a great addition to adding to your monsters so that you can keep some areas the raw paper and then you can come back later and add to it. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding to it. Some of my toppers, I decided that I wanted the line to be bolder, so I thickened the line because I want it to stand out. If you recall from the last Digital Monday video, we kind of talked about that with the monsters. So change your line types. The different line types will add to your monster and make it have more character. That's the goal. We are going to cut these out, and once they're done, we are going to assemble them in kind of a monster parade out on the brick walls. And it's going to be fun to see everyone's different design and everyone's monster.